Welcome back. I have over 500 books on my physical TBR, and I've been asked what those books are. Now, I've kind of already shared that, but not in one place. So this will be every single book I own that I have not read yet, compiled into one master list, sorted by genre. I'll also provide you with all of the numbers of how many books I have unread for each genre, and the total number at the end. So if you have any other questions about my physical TBR, please feel free to ask down below. And here is the complete list of every single book I own but have not read yet. Episode 13 by Craig DeLuey, Eat the Rich by Sarah Gailey, The Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix, Edenville by Sam Rebeline, Sycorax's Daughter, edited by Kenitra Brooks, Linda D. Addison, and Susanna Morris. The Trees Grew Because I Bled There by Eric LaRocca, A Special Place, Floating Dragon, If You Could See Me Now, and The Night Room by Peter Straub, Little Eve by Katrina Ward, Whisper Down the Lane by Clay McLeod Chapman, The Possession by Michael Rutger, A History of Fear by Luke Dumas, Do What Godmother Says by L.S. Stratton, Gwendy's Final Task by Stephen King, Richard Chismar, The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, Lone Women by Victor Laval, Dark Stars, an anthology edited by John F.D. Taff, Echo by Thomas Old Havelt, Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica, Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones, The Lottery and Other Stories by Shirley Jackson, The Shining by Stephen King, Incidents Around the House and Inspection by Josh Mallerman, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, The Between by Tananarive Due, At Home with the Horrors by Sammy Scott, The Fisherman by John Langan, The Night Guest by Hildur Newtstetter. The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, The Drowning House by Cherie Priest, Hell House by Richard Matheson, Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, and then the cutest new covers, Cujo, Pet Cemetery, and Christine by Stephen King. And now for my unread romance. Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola, Funny Story, Happy Place, and Book Lovers by Emily Henry, The Happy Ever After playlist, and The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez, The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory, Maybe in Another Life, and After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and Second Tide to the Charm by Chandra Blumberg. Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, Rhythm of War, and Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin, The Fate of the Fallen by Kel Cade, Temeraire by Naomi Novik, Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan, The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch, Forged by Blood by Ahigbor Okasan, A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed, The Final Strife by Sarah El Arifi. Alright, we moved over to the rest of my unread fantasy is on the far left shelf. And we have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer, Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Muro, Conjure Women by Afia Adekora, The Book of Witching by C.J. Cook, Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young, The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young, The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah, Sign Here by Claudia Lux, The Hacienda by Isabella Cañas, The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty, Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong, The Poppy War by R.F. Kwong, The Golem and the Jinni by Helene Wicker, Poppy Show by Leon Ross, Jade City by Fonda Lee, The Library of the Dead by T.L. Huchu, Voyage of the Damned by Francis White, The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, The Will of the Many by James Islington, Furies of Calderon by Jim Butcher. Now I have the continuation of the Wayward Children series, Come Tumbling Down, Across the Green Grass Fields, Where the Drowned Girls Go, and Lost in the Moment and Found, all by Shauna McGuire, We'll Do Magic for a Small Change by Andrea Hurston, The Left-Handed Booksellers of London by Garth Nix, The Dead Cattail Assassins by Peter Jelly Clark, In the Shadow of the Fall by Tobia Gunderin, The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, The Way Spring Arrives and Other Stories, which is an anthology, a collection of Chinese science fiction and fantasy in translation, from a visionary team of female and non-binary creators, edited and collected by Yu Chen and Regina Kanyu Wong. Not sure why I read that whole thing. Masquerade by O.O. Sangoyomi, A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong, The Traitor Baru Cormorant by Seth Dickinson, A Deadly Education and The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik, Blood Marked and Oathbound by Tracy Dion, The Book of Magic, which is an anthology edited by Gardner Dozois, The Library of Legends by Janie Chang, The Starlit Wood, which is an anthology edited by Dominic Parisian and Nava Wolf, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings trilogy, Rivers of London by Ben Aaronovitch, The Light Fantastic by Terry Pratchett, The Black God's Drums by Peter Jelly Clark, oh, and then another copy of The Light Fantastic and Colors of Magic by Terry Pratchett, Can't Spell Treason Without T, and A Pirate's Life for Tea by Rebecca Thorne, Natalie Tan's Book of Luck and Fortune by Roselle Lim, and also by her Vanessa Yu's Magical Paris Tea Shop, Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong, Half a King by Joe Abercrombie, Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, Keeper of Enchanted Rooms by Charlie N. Holmberg, In the Shadow Garden by Liz Parker, The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. I'm not sure if this one goes here. Big Machine by Victor LaValle. Listen to this description. A Da Vinci Code for fans of Haruki Murakami and Chappelle Show. I've never heard such a description. It'll stay here for now until someone tells me otherwise. That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. The Last Wish by Andrei Sapkowski. The Crescent Moon Tea Room by Stacy Savinsky. The Midnight Library by CJ Polk. The Black Prism and the Blinding Knife by Brent Weeks. Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. Dangerous Women edited by George R.R. Martin. The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. Cabinet of Curiosities edited by Anne and Jeff Vandermeer. The Mermaid of Black Conch by Monique Rafi. The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Niveau. Beasts of Extraordinary Circumstance by Ruth Emmy Lang. The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams. The Mythic Dream edited by Dominic Parisian and Navo. So is that one. Who knew? People probably knew. Hench by Natalie Zena Walscott. Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. Wizards edited by Jack Dan and Gardner Dozois. In the Company of Witches by Arlie Wallace. I had book 2 of this in the mystery thriller video, so I'm going to move that one over here, but here's the first book. Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Secret History by Brandon Sanderson. Vita Nostra by Marina and Sergei Dyachenko. A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher, and Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. Dragon Prince by Melanie Ron. Dragon's Bane by Barbara Hambley. Guards by Terry Pratchett. Pulling the Wings Off Angels. The Devil You Know. The Last Witness. Sharps. Devices and Desires. 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City. The Two of Swords Volume 1. The Two of Swords Volume 2. Why Did I Need This? Evil for Evil. The Folding Knife. The Hammer. So, for the unread books across the top, The Devotion of Suspect X by Kaigo Higashino, The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose, Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson, Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, She Started It by Sean Gilbert, Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh, End of Story by A.J. Finn, Breaking the Dark by Lisa Jewell, The Widowmaker by Hannah Morrissey, Who is Maud Dixon by Alexandra Andrews, What Have You Done by Sherry Lapina, Conviction by Denise Mina, The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave, The Cartographers by Pang Shepard, The Cabinets of Barnaby, Maine by Elsa Hart, Think Twice by Harlan Coben, Just One Look, Home, Runaway, The Innocent, Caught, and Long Lost, all by Harlan Coben, House of Glass by Sarah Pekkanen, Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth, The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley, Necessary People by Anna Petoniak, 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard, The Guest List by Lucy Foley, The Chateau by Jacqueline Goldis, I Know My Name by C.J. Cook, Believe Me by J.P. Delaney, White Bodies by Jane Robbins, and Wish You Were Gone by Kieran Scott. I have Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister, The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rekulak, I don't know. All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker, We Solve Murders by Richard Osman, The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins, The Return of Ellie Black by Miko Jean, Society of Lies by Lauren Ling Brown, Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead, No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall, Survive the Night by Riley Sager, A Botanist's Guide to Parties and Poisons by Kate Kavari, Night Will Find You by Julia Haberlin, The Violin Conspiracy by Brendan Slocum, The Lost Village by Camilla Sten, The Resting Place by Camilla Sten, The Marriage Act by John Mars, Finley Donovan Digs Her Own Grave by El Casamano, The Woman in the Library by Solari Gentle, We Spread by Ian Reid, In the Woods by Tana French, A Perilous Undertaking and a Curious Beginning by Deanna Rayborn, Death in Her Hands by Otesha Mosfag, The Nightwalker by Sebastian Fitzik, and Sleep Well, My Lady by Quay Quarty. Next shelf down, we have some loose ones because they don't all fit, and then There Were None by Agatha Christie, Luckiest Girl Alive by Jessica Knoll, Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret by Benjamin Stevenson, The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins, A Perfect Bind by Dorothy St. James, The Broken Spine by Dorothy St. James, and When the Crow's Away by Arlie Wallace, The Appeal by Janice Hallett, What Lies Between Us by John Mars, The Good Son by Yu Jong Jong, Anything You Do Say by Gillian McAllister, The Good Samaritan by John Mars, The Truth About Melody Brown, The Third Wife, and The House We Grew Up In by Lisa Jewell, What Alice Forgot by Leanne Moriarty, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy by John le Carre, Verity by Colleen Hoover, The Nesting by C.J. Cook, Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies by Catherine Mack, Not What She Seems by Yasmin Engo, Murder at Pirates Cove by Josh Lanyon, Devil in a Blue Dress, and Charcoal Joe by Walter Mosley, The Girl from Widow Hills by Megan Miranda, Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby, Behind Her Lives by Brianna Cole. Did anyone else notice this? Okay. 2 Part Sugar, 1 Part Murder by Valerie Burns, Last Call by Tim Powers, A Deadly Inside Scoop by Abby Collette, Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter, Hurt Mountain by Angela Crook, Rhode Island Red by Charlotte Carter, The Red House Mystery by A.A. Milne, Second Life by S.J. Watson, I Know You Know by Gilly McMillan, We'll Never Tell by Kayla Perrin. On to the bottom shelf, which you're not going to be able to see from here, but I'm not putting you on the floor. The Drift by C.J. Tudor, Magic Lies and Deadly Pies by Misha Pop, Mrs. Quinn's Rise to Fame by Olivia Ford, 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson, Happiness Falls by Angie Kim, A Twisted Love Story by Samantha Downing, The Lion's Den by Catherine St. John, The Missing American by Quay Quarty, Secluded Cabin Sleep 6 by Lisa Unger, Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton, My Sweet Girl by Amanda Giatisa, Notes on an Execution by Dania Kakofka, Small Game by Blair Braverman, The Unseen World by Liz Moore, Special Topics and Calamity Physics by Marisha Pessel, Light Seekers by Femi Coyode, Tripping Arcadia by Kit Maquist, A Nearly Normal Family by M.T. Edverson, A Talent for Murder by Peter Swanson, 9 Lives by Peter Swanson, The Girl with a Clock for a Heart by Peter Swanson, Let Me Lie and I See You by Claire McIntosh, and In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. Dr. No, Erasure, Telephone, and The Trees, all by Percival Everett. I'll include my current reads, so I'm currently doing a Frederick Bachman reading vlog. Keep an eye out for that. I am reading Beartown, and then I will pick up every morning. The way home gets longer and longer. When We Left Cuba, and Next Year in Havana by Chanel Cleaton. The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand, These Ghosts Are Family by Maisie Card, Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurdy, Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, All the Lonely People by Mike Gale, The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arakawa, Rosaline Palmer Takes the Cake by Alexis Hall, Sing Unburied Sing by Jesmyn Ward, The Untelling by Tayari Jones, The Hypnotist's Love Story by Leanne Moriarty, Girl, Woman, Other by Bernadine Evaristo, What It Means When a Man Falls from the Sky by Leslie Neka Arima, Behold the Dreamers by Mbolo Mbui, The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman, How to Pronounce Knife by an author's name that I am not going to attempt to butcher. When I read this, I will look it up and I will pronounce it correctly. Krista Comes Out of Her Shell by Abby Waxman, The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock, The Days of Afriquette by Asali Solomon. Once There Were Wolves and Migrations by Charlotte McConaughey himself. The Night Ship, Mr. Flood's Last Resort, and Things in Jars, all by Jess Kidd. The Nix by Nathan Hill. Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. Georgie All Along by Kate Claiborne. Black Candle Women by Diane Marie Brown. You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akweke Emezi. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. First Frost by Sarah Addison Allen. The Office of Historical Corrections by Danielle Evans. In Every Mirror She's Black by Lola Kinmaid Ackerstrom. The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. A Place for Us by Fatima Farheen Mirza. Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honoree Fanone Jeffers. The Last Equation of Isaac Severy by Nova Jacobs. Here One Moment by Leanne Moriarty. Mammy by Jessica George. The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Brammer. Washington Black by Essie Edigan. You Mean the Nightmare Painter. The Sunlit Man, and The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. I've read the first book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, but not the rest of the series yet. And then I have read The Great Gatsby and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Okay, so the rest I have not read, which are Jurassic Park and the Lost World by Michael Crichton, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, 1984, and Animal Farm by George Orwell, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, Persuasion and Emma by Jane Austen, The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Crime and Punishment, Moby Dick by Herman Melville, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, and these cute little guys, The Turn of the Screw and Owen Wingrave by Henry James, Othello by William Shakespeare, Don Quixote. Actually, I did read maybe half of this in Spanish class by Miguel de Cervantes, and Malice Aforethought by Francis Iles. And then other classics that did not make it to the pretty shelf. Oh, another copy of 1984. Whoops. The Unabridged Collection of Nella Larson. The Outsiders by Essie Hinton. Strangers on a Train by Patricia Highsmith. Beloved by Toni Morrison. Things Fall Apart by this lovely person. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I did read, actually. I've read this one way back in the day. The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. The Drowner by John D. MacDonald. And Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Nexus by Yuval Noah Harari, 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson, The Sky Is Not the Limit by Neil deGrasse Tyson, Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein, Benjamin Franklin, and Steve Jobs, all by Walter Isaacson, Influence by Robert Cialdini, Black Ink, edited by Stephanie Stokes Oliver, The Rise and Reign of Mammals by Steve Broussat, Think Again by Adam Grant, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi, The Doctor Who Fooled the World by Brian Deere, Everything All at Once by Bill Nye, The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, A World Without Police by Geo Mayer, Launch by Jeff Walker, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover, The Courage to Be Disliked by Ichiro Kashimi and Fumitaki Koga, 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals by Oliver Berkman, So You've Been Publicly Shamed by John Ronson, The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk, The Coddling of the American Mind by Craig Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt, Pieces for the Left Hand by J. Robert Lennon, 48 Laws of Power, Mastery, and the 50th Law, all by Robert Greene, but this one also 50 Cent. 400 Souls by Ibram X. Kendi and Keisha Blaine. What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker by Damon Young. Your Brain at Work by David Rock. The Splendid and the Vile and The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. King, Warrior, Magician, Lover by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette. Also, you're probably judging me for some of these, but The Rational Male by Rollo Tomasi How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, The Art of Deception and the Art of Intrusion by Kevin Mitnick, The World as I See It by Albert Einstein, Why I Write by George Orwell, Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig, Jungian Archetypes by Robin Robertson, and The Beginner's Guide to Jungian Psychology by Robin Robertson, Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by Colonel Chris Hadfield, Mistakes Were Made But Not by Me by Carol Tavris and Elliot Aronson, Facing Frederick by Tanya Bolden, The Book of Tea, Where to Take Tea and Buy Tea and Teaware in New York City by Bo Niles and Veronica McNiff, One Writer's Beginnings by Eudora Welty, The Book of Delights by Ross Gay, The Body by Bill Bryson, Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, The Story of Stuff by Annie Leonard, Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, The Personality Brokers by Merv Emery, This Year You Write Your Novel by Walter Mosley, The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clayson, The Secret Life of Groceries by Benjamin Lohr, and For All the Tea in China by Sarah Rose. Then here's a red shelf with the Throne of Glass series. I have read everything up to here. And then the Diviners series, I've read these 3. Here is my young adult TBR. These are the only unread young adult books that I still have on my shelves. I don't know if I'm still interested in young adult. I don't know if I'm still interested in completing series, for example, but we'll see. Alright, I hope you enjoyed. If you're still here and you're looking for those final numbers, I have them here for you. So of my classics unread, I have 25. General fiction, I have 56 unread books. The horror genre, I have 39. The nonfiction genre, I have 62 unread books. Romance, I only have 12. Science fiction, I have 57. And then young adult fiction, any genre, but in the young adult sphere, I have 26 books. Fantasy, I have 116 unread books. And mystery thrillers, I have 117 unread books. My total number for how many books are on my physical TBR that I have not read is 502. I'm hoping to get that number way down, but it's obviously going to take me a while. So those are all the books. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.